Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome. Let's call to order this hearing of the Assessment Appeals Board for March 4th, 2019. And we'll start with a roll call.
Board Member Crow.
Present.
Board Member Curtis.
Present.
Board Member Stern.
Present.
Thank you.
Great. Next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. And then after that, please remain standing if you intend to provide testimony for the administration of the oath. Okay. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. And please do remain standing if you intend to provide testimony today.
So everyone talking to the board this morning will need to be placed under oath. I'll now place you under oath. When I complete reading your oath, please state I do. You solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matters now pending before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. You may now be seated.
Okay, great. For those who are here with us for the first time, we'll start with an agenda review and go through multiple items at the same time to be efficient. So we'll ask Mr. Vlahakis, our clerk, to read those.
And we have a very short agenda review today. Item 5, agenda review for March 4th, 2019. The clerk of the board requests approval of the agenda review by the Assessment Appeals Board. The agenda review consists of the following agenda items. Item 50, application number 17-11484, applicant VMD Aviation LLC, Michael Flannery, continue to April 15th, 2019, pending receipt of original stipulation. Item numbers 52 to 53, application number 18-10215 and 18-10216, applicant Maria Carmen and Miguel Ayala, denied due to lack of appearance. Item numbers 55 through 60, application numbers 18-10416, 18-10461 through 18-10465, applicant Hunting Technology Finance, Bill Edmondson, denied due to lack of appearance. And item number 61, application number 18-11050, applicant Rexford Industrial Realty Incorporated, removed from the agenda due to submission of a withdrawal. That completes the agenda review. The clerk of the board recommends approval as read.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board on the agenda review?
I have none.
If not, we'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis, seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries.
Please, we need one more vote. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is our public comment section. This is a time for anyone to make comments on an item not on the agenda today. Okay, no one coming forward, so we'll go next to board comments.
Nope.
Okay. Great, so what we'll do next is go through each of the agenda items and determine the status of each. And once we do that, we'll come back and hear those applications that are moving forward today. So we'll start with item 8, application 16-11575, applicant Kirpal and Sukhbir Dhaliwal.
Please come forward.
Good morning, welcome back.
Good morning, sir.
And it looks like we are continued from January 14th. Mr. Vlahakis, any comments before we move forward?
Not really. If for some reason the applicant is not ready today, the 2-year period to resolve this application is about to expire. And it's also been rescheduled, I think it's 5 prior times, so a reschedule would be discouraged. But other than that, nothing other to indicate.
Okay. Good morning. Could you please state your name for the record?
Yes. Kirpal Dhaliwal.
Okay, great. And are you prepared to move forward today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we'll go to the assessor. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the board, county council. Christopher Horn for the assessor's office. The assessor is ready to move forward as well. I do want to make note that at the last hearing, the applicants had an attorney representing them. They were, based on the information that was relayed to me, unable to get a hold of their attorney. Also, at the last hearing, there was a proviso for any more data that they wanted to submit, to have that submitted within 30 days. No additional data was provided to the assessor. So the assessor is ready to move forward based on the information in hand, and we estimate about 30 minutes for
Okay.
our presentation.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so we'll go through the rest of the agenda items and then come back to you first, hopefully quickly.
Thank you.
Okay, and before you go, can I clarify, are you requesting the written findings of fact?
Yeah, actually, I'm waiting for my sister-in-law to bring the check.
Okay, all right, so
Thank you.
county council findings of fact will be requested.
Thank you. We'll go next to items 9 through 11, applications 17-10065 through 67. Applicant is CHPCE Thousand Oaks LLC.
Hi. Kent Meyer, agent for the applicant.
Morning, welcome back.
Morning. We'd like to request a continuance. We received the information, and we have, I believe we provided it to the assessor's office
Okay.
very recently.
Yes, that is correct. Additional information came in and needs to be reviewed. I believe a continuance is in order. I don't know what dates the clerk of the board is thinking.
Yeah, first I'd note, Mr. Meyer has submitted waivers to the 2-year period on this application that I received this morning, so we are good to reschedule. The preferred date being offered is April 15th, 2019. If that day is not available, we have June 3rd, but it is looking kind of heavy for June 3rd at this point.
Did you, April, which date?
April 15th or
April.
June 3rd?
Okay, Mr. Myers, April 15th, acceptable
believe
to the applicant?
I believe we can have everything resolved by then.
Okay, and Mr. Horn?
April 15th works for the assessor.
Okay, any questions from the board? Okay, then we'll look for a motion to continue to April 15th.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis and seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries. Next, items 12 through 17. Applications 17-11062 through 67. Applicant F. Oliveira Ranch Company.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend at this time we also cover items 18 through 23, which are for the same applicant, but for a future year. Application numbers 18-11266 through 18-11271 for the same applicant.
Okay, so then we'll include applications 12 through 23 right now. And Mr. Meyer, I assume you're still
I'm still the agent.
the guy. Okay.
Good morning again.
Morning.
We just substituted in as agents on this very recently, so we would like another continuance.
Okay.
It'll be the first requested by our firm, and I think we could probably resolve it by April 15th. If not, the June date would probably work better.
Okay. Mr. Horn, any comments?
As Mr. Meyer stated, they're new to this case. I believe the June date, even though that date is looking heavy, hopefully we can resolve it, but I'd rather have more time as a buffer.
Okay. And Mr. Vlahakis, when was the June date again?
June 3rd? That's,
Okay.
Mr. Meyer has submitted waivers on the 2017 application, which is required, so the June 3rd date would be acceptable.
Okay. June 3rd, okay with the applicant?
We'll put that on our calendar.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
The assessor would like to ask or add a proviso for data. To date, the last agent was less than forthcoming with providing information. I know Mr. Meyer will be more diligent. So have you or anyone in your firm started cracking this open to?
Yes, we've been in contact with the property owner, and we've been working on trying to get all the data.
Do you think it's something that we can get within the next 30 days?
I believe so.
Okay. 30-day proviso.
Okay, so June 3rd, and we're looking for a motion to continue to that date with a condition that the applicant provide requested information within 30 days. Is it of today or of?
Of today, please.
Okay.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis, seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Meyer. Next, items 24 through 42. Applications 17-11076, 17-11078 through 84, 17-11086, 17-11088, 17-11089, and 17-11093 through 100. Applicant Ralph's Grocery Company.
And Mr. Stern, I will, half of these were withdrawn. I didn't read it on the agenda review because it would have made the range even more wonky than it is now, so go ahead and read into the record now. Applications have been withdrawn are 17-11076, 17-11078, 17-11079, 17-11086, 17-11088, 17-11089, 17-11093, 17-11094, 17-11095, 17-11096, 17-11097, 17-11098, 17-11099, 17-11100, which leaves us with 17-11080 through 17-11084 as the active applications. And so that's what we'll be talking about as the remaining applications.
I'm sorry, could you read that one more time? Just kidding.
I will take
Okay.
care of it in the paperwork on the back end, so you don't
Okay.
need to worry about exactly what I said.
Great. Good morning. Could you please state your name for the record?
Good morning. Gordon Mazer, agent for the applicant.
And Mr. Mazer, are you prepared to move forward today?
No, I'm going to be requesting a continuance on the balance of the applications read.
Okay.
And, sorry, a waiver would be required to reschedule these. I know I communicated with your office that we would need you to bring that in. Do you have a copy of that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So if conditioning on the applicant submitting that, we can go ahead and continue the case.
Okay, we'll go to the assessor's representative. Mr. Horn, any comments?
The assessor has no objection to a continuance. Any date that's agreed upon, we would like to have a proviso of 30 days from today that the information be provided to the assessor. If the applicant chooses April 15th, then that would only allow us about 2 weeks for review. So I don't know if June would be a better date.
The 2018 components of these properties are scheduled for June 3rd. So if you would all wish to have it as one hearing, we could go to June 3rd.
Absolutely. And between now and then, they can figure out whether or not any of the 18 cases need to be withdrawn.
Is the applicant okay with June 3rd?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and also with providing requested information, did you request, Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Within 30 days?
30 days from today.
Yes, not a problem.
Okay, any questions, comments from the board? Okay, so we'll look for a motion to continue to June 3rd with the condition that the applicant provide requested information within 30 days of today.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis, seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries.
I'd recommend we jump to another case for this agent while he's already standing up there, item
Okay.
45.
I'm sorry, which item?
45?
45. Okay, application 17-11412, applicant Donahue Schreiber Realty. And Mr. Mazer?
Yes. Gordon Mazer, agent for the applicant again. And we would also like to request a continuance
Okay,
for this also.
June 3rd work?
Yes, it does.
I would note, we do have a 2018 component for this scheduled on June 24th before Board 2.
Okay,
Would the parties like to hear the cases together, 17 and 18 as once?
I think that would be convenient for both not only the applicant, but it would also have consistency. So are you okay
Yes.
with?
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so June 24th, and Mr. Horn,
Proviso, 30 days today, from today, data. I've already been in discussions with the agent this morning, so they know it's requested.
Was there another case involved in this, or did you mention that?
The 2018 component is scheduled for June. This is actually the base value appeal for the supplemental transfer, and then we have the 2018 appeal scheduled in June which is on June 24th, the day they're consolidating to.
any other questions, comments from the board? Okay, so we'll look for a motion to continue to June 24th with the condition that the applicant provide requested information within 30 days.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis and seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries.
Thank you. I would like to hand the clerk the,
Yes, please. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, next I think we have item 43.
Yeah,
43 and 44 together?
Correct.
Okay. Applications 17-11394 and 18-11277. Applicants are the same, G&M Gapco LLC.
Stipulation was submitted for this item. I think on Friday, it was in the red folder that was distributed to you. The recommended action would be to approve.
Okay, and this is one of the stipulations that we just looked at this morning. And any questions, comments from the board?
Nope.
Okay. And I don't have any questions, so I'll look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis and seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries. Okay, moving along to items 46 through 48. Applications 17-11432, 17-11440, and 18-10856. Applicant Crimson California Pipeline.
This, we do have a stipulation on this one, is for a reduction over $5 million for each of the years, so that is what is placed on your regular agenda. This was emailed to your board on Friday.
Okay. Any questions from the board on these items?
No.
Okay, we'll look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis, seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries. Next up, item 49. Application 17-11451. Applicant is Bucknell LLC.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning,
Morning.
board members. Sean Maradian for Bucknell LLC.
Hi, Mr. Maradian. Are you prepared to move forward today?
We are, but I believe as of Friday, the assessor and I indicated that we may want to continue based on some further information that was submitted that they're taking under review.
Okay.
So I'm not opposed to that.
Okay. Mr. Horn?
That is correct, and I believe April 15th would be the date that we agreed to
Okay.
continue this. And we expect to have an answer in one way or the other prior to that about whether or not this needs to move forward.
Okay. April 15th, okay with the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do you need the proviso about information?
I believe, based on the conversation I had with Mr. Maradian, that all the information has been provided. I don't think he has anything else he cares to add to the equation.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
So we'll look for a motion to continue item 49 to April 15th.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis, seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries. Great.
Have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Next is item 51, application 18-10139. And the applicant is William Mawai. Good morning.
Morning, William Y. I already provided some documentation to the assessor, and they want to review what I have for the aircraft. And
Okay.
They should have the manuals and the status of the plane.
Okay. And are you prepared to move forward today?
They requested for so
Okay.
that they given more time to review the aircraft paperwork itself.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, the applicant appeared at the counter this morning with information. We're in receipt of it. I found out through the assigned appraiser, no additional information is required. I believe a continuance to April 15th will suffice to allow us time to review the documentation.
Okay. Is April 15th okay?
Yes, sir. That
Mr.
works.
Y?
That works. Same time?
Same time,
Okay.
same location,
Okay.
same back channel.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
Okay, great.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Wait, we have to first
Okay.
go through a motion to continue to April 15th.
So moved.
Second that motion?
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis, seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries. Okay, great.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next is item 54. Application 18-10384, applicant Harvey Callan.
A stipulation was submitted on this. It was part of your packet for review this morning, so recommended action is to approve.
Okay, we reviewed these this morning. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I have done.
No.
Okay, we'll look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis, seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries. Okay, Mr. Vlahakis, it looks like that takes us to validity hearings, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll go next to item 62, application 18-11294, applicant is Larry Taylor.
And no one has checked in for this item this morning, which is what we were expecting. I have a quick case prepared that would take no more than 5 minutes. So we can go through it now, or we can finish checking people in and come back to it. It's at the discretion of your board.
Why don't we go through it now and just want to double check to see if Mr. Taylor or a representative is here. Looks like that's not the case.
Correct. So, this hearing is scheduled for the Assessment Appeals Board to reject the subject application and give their applicant or their duly authorized representative a final opportunity to correct errors and omissions with the subject application. This hearing is scheduled because Pacific Property Tax Advisors Incorporated has failed to provide any response to numerous attempts by the clerk of the board to resolve issues with the subject application. The clerk of the board left voice messages for Chris Koenig, Pacific Property Advisors, Inc. at the phone numbers listed on the applications, and they're listed there. I won't put those into the public record. So we called them on 2 different phone numbers on December 12th, 2018, December 19th, 2018, and December 27th, 2018. Also, an email was sent to the address provided on December 19th, 2018. A final attempt to contact the applicant's representative was made by letter via U.S. mail on December 28, 2018, sent to the address for the agent listed on the application. This letter gave a final deadline of January 11th, 2019 to comply. The subject application is invalid as filed because no authorization of agent was attached to the application at the time of filing as required by California State Board of Equalization's Property Tax Rule 305A. In all of our attempts to contact Pacific Property Advisors Incorporated, we requested that they provide a copy of the authorization in order to rectify issues and complete the application. California Business and Professions Code, Section 17537.9, makes it unlawful to file an assessment appeal application without proper authorization. It requires a copy be provided within 24 hours of request. No response or attempt to comply has been received by the clerk of the board. Therefore, the clerk of the board requests that your board deem this application invalid and deny it for these reasons, and deny the application due to lack of appearance. Attached to I just have a citation of Property Tax Rule 305 and the Business and Professions Code, copy of the application, which shows authorization of agent was not signed. There was no authorization of agent attached. A copy of the email I sent on December 19th, a copy of the letter I sent by U.S. mail on December 8th, and then a copy of the letter sent by U.S. mail for notice of today's hearing. So I believe they were given ample opportunity to comply and correct this issue, which all it required them to do was provide us a copy of the authorization. They have not complied or responded, therefore we recommend you deem these applications invalid. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Vlahakis. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, in terms of discussion, before we take action, it seems like Mr. Vlahakis has provided a pretty good summary of the issue. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept Mr. Vlahakis' request for a decline of, or denial of this appeal.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Crow, seconded by Mr. Curtis. And motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. And next is item 63. Application 1811322. Applicant is 1189 STCW LLC.
And this is another validity hearing. The applicant is requesting that the board find this application as timely filed. The clerk of the board has a quick presentation, and I believe the applicant has a quick presentation. I would recommend we take care of this now because it shouldn't take more than 10 minutes.
Okay,
But I'll let you hear from the applicant before I give my.
thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Mitchell Blumenfeld.
All right, good morning, Mr. Blumenfeld. Are you prepared to move forward with?
Yes, I am.
The issue? Okay. Let's get a brief overview first, if we could, from our clerk, and then we'll make sure that we hear presentations both from the clerk and from you, and can ask each other questions and
That'd be
ensure
fine.
that all the information's out.
No, give him a copy. If you-
Okay,
Okay, sorry. So she's going to make sure he gets a copy. So this application was received by the clerk of the board on November 5th, 2018. The applicant first contacted the clerk of the board on October 24th, 2018 to ask for an update on their appeal, at which time he was informed that the clerk of the board does not have any application on file, which prompted him to send in the application. So he emailed us, find out the status, and then we didn't have it, so he sent the original in on November 5th. That's where the November 5th date comes from. The applicant has signed an affidavit indicating that they believe the assessment appeal application was originally submitted by U.S. mail on August 16th, 2018. The originally filed application was not received by the clerk of the board nor the assessor's office. For my discussions with the applicant, the original application was mailed to the office of the assessor, attention Dan Goodwin, with a certified mail tracking number. Property Tax Rule 305D5B states, if proof satisfactory to the board establishes that mailing occurred on the last day of the filing period or within such period, any statement or affidavit by an applicant asserting such a timely filing must be made within 1 year of the last day of the filing period. Per this regulation, the board must agree that sufficient proof of timely mailing has been provided. The validity hearing is scheduled so that the board may examine all the facts, documents provided, and any other testimony the applicant would like to make so that the board can decide whether or not to accept the subject application. One issue is that the envelope was incorrectly addressed to the county assessor. However, if a taxpayer does incorrectly address an application to the assessor immediately forwards the applications to the clerk of the board. The clerk of the board will usually accept the application as properly filed. We did ask the assessor to review their records, and they had received documents from this taxpayer, but the assessor did not find any application within the documents they received. Based on the certified mail tracking number, The assessor received documents from this taxpayer on August 20th, 2018 at 8:46:06 a.m. The assessor indicated that this document was a cover letter and several documents in response to a request for information sent by the assessor's valuation division, but none of the documents were an assessment appeal or related to assessment appeals. Other than the certified mail return receipt for the documents mailed to the assessor, the applicant has not been able to provide hard proof of timely mailing. Without clear proof, the clerk of the board is not permitted to accept the application as timely filed. The law clearly states proof satisfactory to the board must be made, and therefore the decision to accept this application as timely filed is your board's decision alone. That's why I wasn't able to make the decision without coming to your board. On the back of that, I just have the applicable rules, which I've already stated. Property tax rule 305 covers timely filing. And your board today can deny the request to accept the application as timely filed or accept the application as timely filed. I then have attached a copy of the application that we received. So we received it November 5th. You'll see there the applicant appears to have originally signed it on August 15th, 2018, which coincides with when they believe it was originally mailed. A copy of their authorization that was included in that package, and then a more formal authorization. Their affidavit is on, let's see, okay, page 11 is a copy of the certified mail return receipt. It matches up with the number that was in my presentation, and as you can see there, it was addressed to Office of the Assessor. On the back side of that is the applicant's affidavit that swears under penalty of perjury that he believes he mailed it on August 16th. And then the last thing is just in reverse order, the emails with the applicant. So on the very last page, page 19, you'll see he first reached out to me on October 24th. I responded that we didn't have the application and asked him for a PDF copy. He sent me it. I looked into it, still couldn't find it. Then I got back to him, and then basically I explained what we had to do based on the rules and coming to this hearing today. So that completes my overview of this matter.
Okay. Thank you. Before we go to the applicant's presentation, Mr. Blumenfeld, do you have any questions of the clerk based on what he presented?
No, I don't think so. The time I called, the first time, which was like in October or so, and I asked, how are we coming on our application? We have two, an informal and formal. That's when I was told they had not received anything. Nor did they have any, at that time, proof of signature. So we had to go back and, through our stuff, find all of that stuff. So there was nothing that was found at that time.
Okay.
Other than that, his testimony was about my testimony.
Right, that's what I had guessed. Before we move forward, are there any questions from the board to the clerk? Okay, so go ahead and present whatever you'd like to.
Okay, you have the
We have,
packet.
we'll
Yeah.
call this packet that you submitted.
Right, you can
Exhibit one.
actually just go to exhibits 5, 6, and 7. The rest of it was correspondence that was
Oh, 1 through
covered in the clerk's statement. We did, in my opinion, I had numerous phone calls with the offices. I was told by one of those people, which is listed on exhibit 1 and 2, each person gave me a different address or a different person I had to go talk to about filing this stuff. So I was jumping from one office to the other. I eventually, in my opinion, got to a right person. I think his name was Travers, as I indicated. And he sent me the form, emailed or told me where to find it. I completed it and in a timely manner submitted it to the assessor's office. Now, if it was the wrong address, that was the only address I had. And when I had not heard anything from anybody, come sometime in October, that's when I started to investigate to find out what happened to my application. And that's when we found out what we have here.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board to the applicant?
Is this for a commercial property?
It was for a Babies R Us property, which is empty now. They went bankrupt. We had no idea what our taxes were for 3 years because everything went to Toys R Us. automatically. We bought the property in 2015. Everything went to Toys R Us. It was a triple net lease. And so when I got this postcard, which is Exhibit 1, when I got that postcard and I saw the assessed value of $8.4 million for the property, of which we paid 6.07 for the property, that's what triggered my starting looking into appealing this. So, yeah, it is a commercial property in Simi Valley.
It's just a one unit,
Pardon me?
one building? It's just
One building, one box.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board to the applicant? Mr. Vlahakis, anything from the clerk?
No.
Okay. In terms of deliberation, I think we can do that here. Seems to me that the applicant made a reasonable,
Sure, I'll side with the applicant on his request.
okay. Any comments, Mr. Crow?
I agree with Mr. Curtis on that. I think,
Okay.
He has made an attempt to
Okay, so,
follow the law as such.
great, so we'll look for a motion. If in favor, I guess that it would be in favor of the applicant's, of the validity of the application, correct?
Yeah, just a motion to accept the application as timely filed. This is sufficient.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis and seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries.
Excellent.
So the application was, is confirmed as valid, and then so the process can move forward from there.
So now that'll process itself.
Yeah, Mr. Vlahakis, any?
Yeah, we'll, now, the assessor will get a copy and we'll send out the request for information to you likely, and then we will schedule you for a valuation hearing sometime later in the year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is the applicant wanting his information back?
No.
Okay,
It just said bring 6, so I did.
thank you.
Well, I won't need that for the next one.
This has no evidence of value in it, so this wouldn't be presented at your valuation hearing, correct?
Yeah, I don't think it
I
does.
don't believe you would need this. It's all just about the appeal. What you would bring at your next hearing is your valuation and
Okay.
evidence for value, which is not.
Okay, thank you
Where
very
is an
much.
escrow
Thank you.
statement in there?
It's up to the board if they want to return it. I think we're okay, though.
Okay,
So we can go through the remainder of the administrative items, or we can go back and hear the only hearing we have today. It's up to your board.
okay, so next, why don't we just do that? And we do have findings on the one application,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But while we're on a roll, why don't we just go through the rest of these items? We have findings of fact for items 65 through 68, it looks like.
Yes, these are all findings of fact that have been issued and were approved by your board since your last hearing. Recommended action is for your board to receive and file.
Okay, would you like one motion for all of them? or
Yes, one motion is fine.
Okay, any questions from the board on items 65 through 68, the findings? And it sounds like we did already approve those via email.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, so moved for approval by Mr. Curtis and seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries.
Is there one more vote?
Sorry.
Thank you.
And next under well, why don't we come back to the, Mr. Vlahakis, you prefer we do all of these now or come back?
Yeah, it'll be real quick. If we do 69, 73, and then it'll be quick. It's
Okay.
just,
So we'll start with the stipulations, items 70 through 72.
yeah, these were, this changed last minute. It had been over 30 days and we had not gotten the originals.
Okay.
Surprisingly, they showed up Friday night. So they were a part of your packet that was
Okay.
passed around this morning, the originals. So now, rather than recommending you approve the copies, we're recommending you approve the original stipulations on these 3 cases.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board on 70 through 72?
No.
Okay, we'll look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis, seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries. And next, we have a whole bunch of hearing officer decisions under item 73 on the agenda. So that's items 74 through
104.
104.
And these, we did tell your board that this responsibility was going to go away. We haven't quite got approval from the Board of Supervisors yet, so we're still
Okay.
doing that. But basically, all your board needs to do is make a motion to receive and file the hearing officer's decisions that were issued.
Okay. And you both might have served as hearing officers, right, on the cases? So maybe I'll make the motion to approve those. And then, I'm not sure if it matters who seconds it or not.
Yeah.
Mr.
I will second that motion.
Okay.
All right. And please vote. Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. And last, item 105 is for stipulation agreements, including items 106 through 157. Any comments from the board?
Just one question, Mr. Horn, on that airborne traffic tactical advantage. There was a lot of steps in that substantial reduction. Is there a story there?
Yes, there is a story there. These were escape assessments for personal property, and the item that was taken off value-wise was a spare engine, and it was determined that that spare engine didn't exist during this time frame. So for all those years, that engine had to be taken off, or the value of that engine had to be taken off.
Okay, any other comments or questions on the stipulations? If not, we'll look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I will second the motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Curtis, seconded by Mr. Crow, and motion carries. So we'll go back to, I believe item 8 is our only item that we're moving forward with. And we'll hear item 8, application 16-11575, Kirpal and Sukhbir Dhaliwal. So come on forward. You're welcome to either use the podium in the center or the desk area.
You want to take a seat like last time, or you want to?
And why don't we, we'll just take a 5-minute recess, if that's okay, and then we'll get started with this. Okay, we're back in session at 10:25, and we're hearing item 8 on the agenda, application 16-11575, applicant Kirpal and Sukhbir Dhaliwal. Welcome back.
Yes.
And what I'd like to do is start by getting a brief overview of the application from the assessor, and then we'll determine how to move forward.
Okay, Andrea Rotar with the Assessor's Office.
Morning.
So this is a supplemental appeal as a result of a 75% partial interest transfer with an effective date as of August 31st, 2016. The burden of proof rests with the applicant as the subject is non-owner occupied at the time of sale. Pursuant to Property Tax Rule 321A, it is presumed the assessor performed their duty correctly.
Okay, thank you. And so we will start with a presentation from the applicant, and then the assessor and the board will have an opportunity to ask questions. And then we'll do the same thing with the assessor's presentation. Everyone can ask questions. So feel free to pass out any information that you have.
Yeah, I'm the owner of the property, Kirpal Dhaliwal, and with my family. It's a big family. We actually started construction. We got the permits in 2008, and it took us almost 8 years to finish the project.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, sorry. So, Mr. Vlahakis, these are the two items submitted by the applicant, is that right?
Applicants Exhibit 1 and 2 have been submitted. It's a,
Do you have a 1 and a 2 on a certain one, or should we?
no, I was just, the one on top is a construction cost grid. I was gonna say, let's call that 1, and then we have an appraisal. Let's
Okay.
call that 2.
So the packet with the picture on the front, we'll call Exhibit 2, and the other packet with, it looks like construction information is Exhibit 1. So go ahead.
So the project was on and off. It's on the farm. And this is basically, my only submission is that this is a unique property, that there is no comparable properties. I have been in real estate myself, and like whenever they appraise the value, they just go by the cost approach or by the comparable properties. So to me, I know that in Exhibit 2, we have got the appraisal, but the properties that he has mentioned, they are not even comparable to this property. And I'm stressing more towards the cost of approach, that whatever was the cost of construction for the property. And this is, in Exhibit 1, I have given the summary of the property, that framing and all the plumbing, HVAC and everything, that how much it was spent on these items. And there are some of the major bills like doors and windows, of the lumber and stucco contract, and that kind of, like the major items that we have put in Exhibit 1. And when it comes to the total value, our total cost of construction is 2.670 thousand. And even appraised value comes very close to the actual value of the property, or the cost of construction plus whatever somebody will have to make the profit to sell it. And the market value of that property, he came up with the 2.85, I guess. Let me see that. Yeah, it's 2.85. So this is very close to each other. And this is my submission only, that it should be taken into consideration, the cost of construction, not the comparable properties, because there are no comparable properties for this thing. Second thing, I just want to mention that previously we have been in the appeals hearing about, it's not related to this particular matter, but it was the ownership issue. From 2006, when we bought the property, it's a family-owned property, and it has been in the names of 4 brothers. And for taking the loan from different financial institutions, we had to go to different financial institutions. Some brothers were having more income, some were less. So whatever was suitable to the financial institutions, they put the name on the title, and that became the change of ownership in the county records. But basically, it has been owned solely by those 4 brothers since 2006. I just want to mention beyond this. But my approach is only cost of construction approach. That's what it cost us to build it. That's small.
Okay. Any additional information you'd like to present?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Let's start with questions from the assessor to the applicant.
Christopher Horn for the Assessor's Office again. You started the construction of this house in 2008.
No, we got the permits in 8, but it started the actual construction in 13, because there were some grading plans and all that stuff. That we hired a really bad contractor. It took almost 4 years to do the grading.
How large is the house? How many square feet?
It's roughly, I'm not really sure, 18,000 some square feet.
You started construction on the house in 2013. What percentage of the construction did you or family members do for the house or do on the house?
Not the family members. I was involved fully. I was managing the whole project.
So you were in essence, the contractor for,
Yes, sir. I was the owner, basically,
Okay.
doing my own construction, yeah.
I do have a question. Do you have any, you said that you started construction in 2013, but your packet, and I presume it was completed in about August of 2018, the house? Okay. So the packet of information that you provided, it's only about 16 pages of invoices for 5 years of construction. Do you have any more additional information?
No, I don't.
Did you have like a fund control history book, like with checks written, or maybe more detail for the one-page document that you provided?
At this moment, I don't have any, but this is the main detailed, the major expenditure that we did. And that's what we had. It was not like a business. It was a family, and it was all in the family that we were doing it. And that's why because we had problem. We actually started with the wrong decision, that we should have started with a financial institution. We started with our own funds. Then in between, when we wanted the funds and go back to the financial institution, nobody will touch it. They said, oh, nobody knows if there is any lien on the property or something. So we had to come up with private funding and all that from our own funds. Time and again, that's why it took 5 years for us to finish it.
Are you done? With regards to the valuation or the appraisal that was submitted on what would be the equivalent of 1, 2, 3, 4, the appraiser makes a note and in essence a declaration, and I'll read it. The appraiser is not an expert in construction cost estimation. The construction costs used in the cost approach are based on the appraiser's limited knowledge of local building costs and/or contractor cost breakdowns from other similar residential projects. Indirect costs and development costs were also included in the construction cost estimate. And he put in a value of $2,136,360.
Yes, sir.
And if you flip, that's 4, go to 5, 6, on page, what would be page 7, under the cost approach discussion, the first sentence is the estimated cost of construction of the building as completed is $2,136,360. So in reading this, I take it that he used your estimated costs.
I don't think so, because he is a California certified appraiser, and he didn't ask for our construction costs. Whatever he did, I really don't know where he got the numbers from, but definitely this $50,000 and $300,000, that is total value of 3 and 3, that was, we told him that will be the extra expenses that will still have to be completed.
Okay. And what's the date of valuation that we're?
The date of valuation is August 31st, 2016. And
December 17.
Excuse me?
December 17.
For today's appeal, it's August 31st, 2016.
No,
Yes,
mean,
yes.
appraisal.
Yeah, on the appraiser, or appraisal is December 21st, 2017.
Yes.
So the comparables used
They exceed the 90 days from
exceed the 90 days.
property tax rule 324.
Say again,
Property tax rule 324 doesn't allow comparable properties beyond the 90 days of valuation.
yeah. Yeah, but the appeal has been there, and we didn't get another appraisal. But this is the appraisal then when it was not finished, and he came up with 2.136 or whatever, plus whatever has to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have no, the assessor has no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board to the applicant?
Well, as the general contractor on the project, did you make any allowance for your labor and your,
Yeah, I was the general contractor myself.
pardon?
I was the general contractor
Yeah,
myself.
well, I mean, normally, of course, if you hired someone, there would be a charge for that.
Right.
And you don't, that's not included in your,
Yeah, but in the construction cost, which is 2.67, even if we add the management fees or the contractor fees, that will not go beyond what has been appraised for the property is 2.85. He came up with 2.85 appraised value, and I came up with the construction cost of 2.67. So whatever is that gap between these two, almost $180,000, that the gap is what he considered towards the value of the property.
really, in reality, he is only valuing the improvement for about 2.1 million. 700,000.
2.8, sir.
Well, 700,000 of his appraisal is the land value. So if you,
Yes.
so there's a big gap between what he thinks your construction cost is and what you actually spent.
I haven't looked into details of his evaluation, how he came up with that number, but the actual construction cost, according to my own notes, is 2.67, sir.
Okay.
So, quick question. We're valuing this as of what date?
August 31st, 2016.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. So you had what was the purpose of this appraisal? So this appraisal is a year, or it's after the August 2016. What was the purpose of this appraisal?
When they sent us the tax bill, and we wanted to appeal it, and we wanted to get an independent appraised value, that's why we had to do it.
Sure, I understand. Why didn't you have it appraised as of the date of August 2016 instead of December 2017?
It was going on in the appeal process. We have been talking to the county assessor's office. And that's why we found different ways that how we can justify that this is like on top of the construction cost, which is what we had. That was the only proof we had. So just to get an independent evaluation, that's why we had to get the appraisal done.
Sure. Was it complete as of December 21st, 2017?
Yes, sir.
When was it completed as of?
It was in August 18,
August
18, when the whole project was complete.
of 18. So it was still under construction with this appraisal? This is December.
He adds up that 600,000 or 700,000 that he put it in the addendum for there is $300,000 for automation cost for the security and mechanical systems, which has been estimated, it has an estimated cost of $300,000. Automation has yet to be installed, and as such, that $300,000 cost was included in the functional depreciation. And then there is another You mentioned the utilities.
Sure, okay, so just, how much did you estimate the home to be worth as of August 2016? The total value?
At that time, it was 2.67.
2.67, so the appraisal is 2 point,
That is after the completion, not on that date, sir, because I'm just putting those 600,000 included in this one.
how much did you buy the property for, the vacant land?
It was, no, the property, when we bought it, it was 1.2, yeah. 1.2, sir.
1.2 million, sure. When did you buy that? What year?
2006, last part of 2006.
2006, so in 2006, it was 1.2, but then the appraiser gives the lot value as 750, so I guess the value
The
of,
value has gone down, sir, on the lands, because over there next to us, there was a 22-acre ranch that went for 800-some thousand dollars.
sure. Was it the same usability as your property? or
Our
no?
property is 20 acres, sir.
20 acres, and
This
it's,
was-
how much of your acreage is flat? Is usable?
The usable is only where we made the pad for the house.
I understand. About what percentage of the lot is usable, of your lot?
That's about, out of 20 acres, it's about 3 acres, sir.
3 acres?
Yes, sir.
And the other land was the same usability percentage?
Yes, sir, yeah. They already have the pad. Actually, the gentleman who, he already had approved plans for $6,000 home. The pad is already made, and he spent almost $300,000-400,000 to get all the permits and everything, and he sold it for $890 or $880 this last year.
So that's what the appraiser is basing his land value, just on one sale, correct?
Maybe, yes, sir. Maybe, I'm not really sure, sir.
Sure. Okay, no other questions?
Okay. Mr. Crow? And I don't have any questions right now. Okay, thank you. So let's see, we've heard, we'll go now to the assessor's presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, whenever you're ready, Mr. Horn. Ms. Rovtar?
So again, the subject property is located on Worth Way, an unincorporated area next to the city of Camarillo. The subject has approximately 13.5 acres of mature avocado and lemon trees. As of August 31st, 2016, the partial interest transfer of 75%. The below items were construction in progress, a single-family residence, a pool house, and garages, patios, balconies, and et cetera. The subject is in the California Land Conservation Act, which is an agricultural preserve program, better known as the Williamson Act. This program encourages property owners to preserve agricultural and open space lands by giving property owners a reduction in property taxes for their agricultural land in exchange for a long-term commitment. And usually the commitment is a minimum of 10 years, sometimes 20 years. Once committed, the land is valued as open space land, and the trees and vines on the land subject to the open space restrictions shall be valued as land pursuant to Revenue and Taxation Code, Section 429. The applicant submitted a one-page itemized list of the construction cost of $2.67 million, along with some invoices totaling around $572,000, and an appraisal report effective as of December 21st, 2017, which we did see in his presentation. For this appeal, attempts were made requesting more information on the construction costs, such as a fund control history and other invoices to account for the remaining $2.1 million. And you can reference pages 47 through 50 in the appeal packet. Furthermore, Property Tax Rule 6A directs when to use the cost approach, and is considered a particularly reliable indicator when the improvements are new or near new. Costs include that are not necessary, or that are necessary to construct a property for its intended use are direct costs such as labor, materials, permits, overhead, and profit, and indirect costs such as administrative expenses, professional fees, financing, insurance, sales, and et cetera. Therefore, if the assessee provided his or her own labor, it should be part of the cost estimate, even if he or she may not consider it a cost. So turning to page 4, we have an aerial of the subject as of November 2016. And if you look kind of in the southwest portion of the parcel, you'll see that the house is under construction. Pages 5 and 6 are a footprint of the first and second floor. Turning to page 7 are photos from December 2015, and it looks like the house at that point is probably about 50% complete. Turning to page 8, you'll see some photos from March of 2017. Unfortunately, the appraiser or the appraiser technician, when they went out to do a site inspection, they didn't take any photos of the interior, but if I had to estimate, I would say it's probably 80% from the photos and from reviewing the inspector sign-offs. So pages 9 through 13 are photos from the July 2018 site inspection. When I went out there, it looked like the house was about 98 to 99% complete. It looked like they were just kind of finishing up some loose ends on the house, and I think the applicant did indicate that the house was completed in August of 2018. So turning to page 14, there is a timeline of the events that have occurred on the subject property. So the land was purchased with orchard trees in February 2007 for $1.2 million. We did take a little bit of some value off because some of the trees were under exemption. There were 2 subsequent partial interest transfers that occurred in 2016. The first one being in April of 2016, and then the second one being what we are here for today is the August 31st, 2016. So if you look at the timeline, you'll kind of see that the land value has been segregated. And we do this because it's important, since this is in the Williamson Act, that restricted land for the orchard trees and the trees themselves will not be supplemented for the change of ownership, whereas the home site is unrestricted and therefore will be supplemented. So turning to page 15, I have a cost approach that I've prepared. So for the main house, the pool house, and other improvements, I valued using cost guides from Los Angeles County Residential Guide and Marshall & Swift Valuation Services. The quality class that I came up with is a quality class of 10.5, and that was arrived at costs contributed by the heating, the fireplaces, the bathrooms, the built-ins, the roofing, the floors, and the workmanship, and like others. I did make a downward size adjustment to acknowledge the size of the house. The main house is about 17,500 square feet. It has 2 separate garages, and I think each garage is about 4 cars each, which is about 2,400 total. And they also have the pool house again and with the basement. So because of the size of the house, I did want to make a acknowledgement. And so I did do a downward size adjustment, and we'll see on the following page how I came up with the 13% downward adjustment. So adding up the cost for the main house, the garages, the pool house, and the other improvements, I came up with a total value of approximately $3.44 million if the new construction was 100% completed. Since the house was, my estimation was 65% complete, I'm coming up with a value of $2.235 million for the construction in progress. I do want to state on record that in our office that we will, like every other year, we may have we do have the right to recost the improvements. So I wanted to let the applicant know, so in the event that when the house is completed, it may potentially be recosted out. Okay. So let's see, turning to page 16, you will see how I came up with my size adjustment. I came up with 12.89%, but I just rounded it to 13%. For quality class 10 and a half, Los Angeles County residential guides only go up to 7,800 square feet. And again, because this house is so large, I did think that it would be fair to at least do a downward adjustment. And then as far as the estimation of the construction in progress as of August 31st, I just reviewed the photos from the March 2017 photos and from December 2015. And again, I reviewed the inspector sign-offs from the county. So I thought 65% seemed like it would be a fair estimation as of the August 31st, 2016. So pages 17 through 18 are the sales comparison approach. So I picked 5 comparables within a 2.5-year time span and within 10 miles of the subject. So in agricultural, what we typically do, because it's not like a house where you might have model matches, what we do is we value the improvements for each comparable on a cost approach, like a replacement cost less a normal depreciation. And then we also value the trees, which are valued at an allocated value per acre. So after the improvements are costed out and the trees are valued, the remaining value is attributable to the land value. With the land value, we have to segregate the land components to a home site value, orchard land, and non-usable land. This is important because, again, in the Williamson Act, unrestricted land, such as the home site, is not eligible for a reduction in taxes. So for the home site, I allocated $650,000 for 1.75 acres. And the home site is for the home itself and for the related improvements. And so I did measure using aerial, or like an arc map to measure, and about 1.75 acres did seem pretty much fair for the area. So for the orchard land, I allocated a little less than $30,000 an acre for the 14.5 acres. And then for 3.7 acres, it's a barranca, and I attributed no value to it. So the improvement value is $2,262,700, and again, it's the $2.235 million for the construction in progress, plus the plus the irrigation, which is $27,700. So with the tree value at 13.5 acres of lemons and avocados, I valued at $2,500 an acre to get to derive a value of $34,000. So the land, the improvements, and the trees total $3.375 million for the subject on August 31st, 2016. And again, you can refer to page 14 of the timeline. So for the land value, if you add up the home site value of the $650,000 and the orchard land of $428,300, it totals about $1,078,300. And so if you divide that by the usable acreage, which is the home site and orchard land, which is about 16.25 acres, it comes out to a value of $66,357 an acre. So if you look down below, I have value per acre, usable acreage plus home site acreage only, and the range is about $56,000 to $91,000. I do think Comp 4 is actually superior because it is flat land. So, you know, $56,000 to $79,000. So the $66,000 that I'm using for the land value seems like it falls within range. Okay, so pages 19 through 23 are aerials of each comparable. And then page 24 is a sales comp map of the subject and comps. So on page 25, this was more of a kind of a checkup. Again, for the home site, for the 1.75 acres, I allocated $650,000. And for property under the Williams Act, you have to have a separate valuation for the home site as like a separate appraisal unit. So I was kind of looking at like what 1 to 3 acre sites would be, and my value is about $480,000 to $970,000. So $650,000 allocated for the home site doesn't seem unreasonable. So page 26 are the vacant land sales comparables. Page 27 is a map of the subject and the comp land sales for the home site. We can get to page 28 last. Page 29 to 46 is an itemized detail of the construction costs provided the applicant and the invoices. And I believe this is probably the same information that he provided in his presentation. And again, the invoices provided add up to about $572,000, and their total value is about $2.67 million. So pages 47 through 50 are emails where I'm requesting more info on the missing invoices and more info for the cost incurred. And I think I've asked like 3 times on pages 47, 49, and 50. You'll see where I've asked, like, do you have any more invoices? Do you have a fund control history? So turning to page 51, 51 and 52 is from the Assessor's Handbook, and it discusses the Williamson Act, also known as the California Land Conservation Act. So pages 53 to 54 is again from the Assessor's Handbook, and it discusses Revenue Taxation Code 428 about how residential sites are not restricted under the Williamson Act. So pages 55 and 56 are a memo from the state that non-living improvements such as irrigation and pumps are considered unrestricted. So you might ask, like, why, irrigation and pumps wouldn't be considered restricted if they are servicing preservation for agriculture. Pages 57 and 58 are the Ventura County Land Conservation Act guidelines. Pages 59 to 66 are Revenue Taxation Codes 422, 423, and 423.3, and they discuss the assessments of valuation of open space land. So turning to page 67 is again Revenue Taxation Code 428 that states that residences or sites are not restricted land. Page 68 is Revenue Taxation Code 429 that states that trees and vines are restricted and are valued as such. Okay, so if you turn to pages 75 to 78, there's an annotation from the state regarding a change of ownership on restricted and non-restricted open space. So if you turn to page 77, at the top, it talks about supplemental assessment. And it states that since, however, supplemental assessment procedures do not apply to enforceably restricted property, there is no supplemental assessment levied against the portion of the property that is restricted upon a change in ownership. And then turning to page 78, where it says open space property, I think it's like the last sentence. It says, as to non-restricted portions of the property, a new base year value is enrolled and supplemental assessments are levied based upon the date of the change of ownership. So with that, if we can go to page 28. Since this is a supplemental appeal, again, only the unrestricted value is supplemented, not the restricted value. So as far as for the, at the top, you'll see the home site unrestricted value, and you'll see the percentage of change of ownerships. Obviously, August 31st, 2016 is the 75%, and then we have other percentage of ownerships. You'll see at my August 31st, 2016, it was the $650,000, the home site value. If you look at February 6, 2007, you'll see $550,603. So you might kind of think that's kind of like a wonky number. And how that came about was when the appraiser worked the February 2007 transfer, there was no home site. So they had to come up with a value for an undeveloped site, and they came up with half an acre at $500,000. But because the property is now, the home site value is about 1.75 acres, we had to take about 1.25 acres of what we attributed to the orchard land, and we had to put it to the home site because, again, the home site value is unrestricted. So if you turn to the timeline of page 14, but keep your finger on page 28 also, you'll see that the land value for the orchard was $637,600 for 15.75 acres, which is $40,482 an acre. So if you take the $40,482 an acre times it by 1.25 acres, you'll get $50,603, and then you add that to the half acre that we allocated for the undeveloped home site at the time of transfer, you'll get the $550,603. Does that make sense? Okay. So when you put all the values in the formula, it comes up with a blended home site unrestricted value of $649,697. And if you do it for also the improvements for the unrestricted value, it comes up with a value of $2,556,255. Now, I do want to make note, there was a partial interest transfer that occurred on April 7th, 2016, and the appraiser, when they did their valuation, their opinion of value is that the construction in progress was 80% complete. So we do know that when the house is complete, that because I'm saying it's 65%, since I have a different opinion, that we will not be picking up 35%. We're going to have to pick up a value of less than 35%. So we'll have to do some mathematical computations to figure out how much more we'll be picking up, but it might be like 32, 33% to make it totally complete. So you put the numbers into the supplemental, and so if you look down where it says recommended base year and it says $819,675, so what that value is, the $649,697 of the home site unrestricted value, plus the restricted land value that was for the January 1st, 2016 lien date, which was $169,978. So that's where you get $819,675. And then I think I do have something, down below where it kind of explains how you got the $819,000 from. And then you subtract it from the 601 roll value and subtract the prior supplemental, and then you get an increase of $13,737. So another way you can look at it, too, is you could say, okay, the blended home site value as of August 31st, 2016 is $649,697. The value that was for the home site value, the blended home site value for April 7th, 2016 was $635,960. So the difference is $13,737, still the same, increase. So with the improvement value, there is a, for the supplemental, there is a net reduction of $622,413. So the total unrestricted value, the net supplemental value is $608,676, a reduction. So with that, the assessor recommends that the Assessment Appeals Board lowers the 2016 supplemental base year for the unrestricted values from $4,194,810 to $3,375,930. So again, there's a lot going on with this property. We have a 75% partial interest transfer with a 65% construction in progress house, and a house being quite large, too.
Okay, any other information you'd like to present?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go next to any questions that the applicant may have of the assessor's presentation. And then you're also able to, before we end, you'll have a time to summarize your thoughts. So right now is a time just for questions based on their presentation.
First of all, when the appraisal was done on August 31st, 2016, how did you come up with 65% of the construction was done?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I had explained that. I had looked at, I think it was the December 15 photos, which I said I estimated at 50% complete. And then I looked at the March 2017 photos. And then I also looked at the inspector sign-offs. We do have limited access to county records from the inspectors.
How you came up with 55 or 65% figure?
Oh, I probably went with 50% and then 80%, and then I went with a middle because, again, this is August 2016, and the photos were December of 15 and March of 17, which is about the, August was about the middle of when the photos were taken.
Okay. My second question is that you came up with the site value of 3.71. Let me look
No,
at
the home site value I came up with 650,000.
that home site is 1.75 acres and unit value is 371,429.
No, I'm sorry, that's a little deceiving. It's just the 1.75 acres for the home site at 650,000. And if you look down below on page 17, it says home site 1.75 acres, and then the total value is 650,000.
That's what, how you came up with 371?
Oh, I just took 650,000 divided by 1.75 acres.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But 650,000 arbitrarily, when in the ranches, what is the going rate for most of these ranches per acre? And then we came up with almost, you can say, 20 times more on the home side, which is 650 just for the home site of 1.75 acres.
Yeah, again, revenue taxation code, I think it's 429, or actually, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
29,500.
No, revenue taxation code 420, excuse me, says that residential sites, you have to, in the Williamson Act, you have to value as a separate appraisal unit. And so, again, if you turn to page, I think I did, like, again, as a checkup on page 25, these are like 1 to 3 acre lot properties. And with my adjustments, it came up to 480,000 to 970,000. So I thought, okay, 650,000 seemed like a reasonable value. If you also turn to pages 17 to 18, you will see that the appraiser, when they, with the sales, they do allocate a value to the undeveloped site or the developed site. And the value was anywhere from 400,000 to 750,000 for a home site.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any?
My closing questions, just a submission that, first of all, this number, 650,000 for that 1.75 acres, is not justified.
Okay, let me just interrupt you for 1 second, and we'll give you time to present that. First, we'll see if the board has any questions, and then we'll go to the summary. Okay.
Could I clarify something too? The
Yes.
650,000 is also for a site that is graded and entitled to build a home. It's not an undeveloped site.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Did you say there was $52,000 in invoices that were?
I think 572,000 on the 16 pages.
I wrote down a note. 572,000 was your note there. Was the total. I'm sorry.
Could you real briefly go over the definition of a home site as opposed to a non-home site?
Well, a home site is something that obviously you can build a house, a guest house. You can have related improvements such as equestrian. You can also have driveways, pools.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Does that answer your question?
Sure. Is it the usable
Yes.
portion of the land? Mm-hmm. And when you have avocado trees on a portion of the land, it's technically not usable as a home site. It's usable as
Right,
to
and
grow
again, this is
avocado.
obviously important because this is in the Land Conservation Act, and so they do get a reduction in property taxes on the lien date for the portion that is used for agricultural.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Crowe? Okay. And so it doesn't sound like we have any other questions from the board.
One quick, you had mentioned at the beginning of your presentation about adjusting the, what was that, the cost?
I did want to make an acknowledgement because the house is so large, it's 17,500 square feet, and the costs of Los Angeles County cost guides that I had used only go up to 7,800 square feet. So I did think it would be fair to make a downward adjustment. So I used Quality Class, I think it was 14 and 14 and a half, and I kind of saw what their percentage was. And I think if I'm not mistaken, it only goes up to like 14,001 and higher.
Square feet? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you make some kind of over-improvement adjustment?
Well, with the cost approach, we consider that as the best method. I don't have any evidence to, support that this is an over-improvement.
At 18,000 square feet? So you don't consider it over-improved for the area?
Well, it is a multi-generation house. It can be.
But is that typical for Ventura County?
It's not typical, no.
Okay.
Yeah, to further that, no, there was no adjustment made for possible over-improvement because that would be something that would be reflective with the market sales. We're looking at this, taking the property and building it from ground up. At 65%, it's difficult to find improvements at 65% that transfer.
Sure.
And it's also difficult to find 17,000, 18,000 square feet house. And even the applicant testified to that the adjustments, if you top out at 7,000, 8,000 for your comparable, trying to adjust for 10,000 square feet is really going to put you in dangerous waters. So that's part of the reason why we're putting our weight on the cost approach as is, and then if, when complete, there is a market approach that needs to be done in order to determine whether or not an over-improvement happened, then we'll handle it then.
Did you happen to check with your data to see how many homes are larger than this? In other words, you probably have the data to see how many homes,
Yeah,
not
there's
sales, but just,
Yeah, no, there's not too many, and if there are, they're like in probably, in my opinion, superior areas.
sure. And so just to get back, you said that the cost data might change in future
Yeah,
assessments?
typically,
And that would be changed up or changed down?
well, I just wanted to make an acknowledgement.
Sure.
Just because these costs may not be used for the 2018 when the construction is completed. I don't know if construction costs have gone down, but I would presume that they probably have increased a bit, just maybe due to labor. Also, when I costed this out, I didn't take in consideration, because at the time, there was no driveway. And so they might add that or consider that as an additional expense too.
Okay, sure. All right, nothing else?
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, so we'll start then with a closing summary from the assessor, and then we'll finish with the applicant.
The key points, because there are a number of moving parts, the date evaluation for this appeal is August 31st, 2016. The land is under the LCA Williamson Act. The estimated percent complete of the new construction is 65%. The percentage of ownership that transferred on this date, as determined by the AAB, this AAB, was 75%. The fee appraisal provided lacks convincing information, as the appraiser declared insecurities regarding the cost approach. This is a crucial deficiency, as the cost approach, as we've shown, is vital to the determination of value for the subject. As for the construction costs, the invoices provided don't add up to the overall reported value. Further, is lacking any allocation for a construction foreman's oversight, and this is due to the applicant managing the construction in progress. The assessor's appraisal addresses the LCA valuation, the new construction valuation, and the percentage complete. And page 3 of our presentation lays out the requested values. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and we'll finish with a closing summary from the applicant.
First of all, that 65% in August 16, that figure is not right. I'm a mechanical engineer by profession. I'm a California general contractor in the state of California. At that time, the construction was completed 90%. When they did the appraisal, they are talking 65%, but basically it was 90% completed. One. The second thing, I have some objections to the site value, $650,000 for 1.75 acres. Thirdly, this house is a unique house in the county of Ventura as far as green technology goes. To me, it looks like that I'm being punished for using the green technology. That's why it cost me that much, even 2.67. The whole house doesn't have any traditional water heaters. It doesn't have any traditional heating and cooling air conditioners. It is all geothermal technology that I used, and that's why my cost went up that much. Instead of actually giving me the incentive on this green technology, I'm totally self-sufficient with the water that is actually heating and cooling my house from my water well. That's geothermal technology. The rest of those motors are being run by the motors that run the heat pumps, the geothermal heat pumps. That is run by my solar system that I installed. And that is my another point, that instead of giving me the incentive on the green technology, and I especially got this whole house doesn't even have a single foot of copper pipe in it. It is all, it's called Aquatherm technology from Germany that I got a special permission from the county to get it installed. And I never got any incentive for that. On top of that, I got with this big bill on the property taxes. This is my submission for it, and this is my cost, which I have used here, sir. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll close the hearing to public testimony, and we'll be deliberating in closed session today and going over all the information. There's a lot of information to consider. And so assuming a decision is made today, then you could check in with the clerk related to the decision, but also there'll be a minute order sent out shortly after. And then the findings of fact will be prepared within, I believe, 45 days. So thank you. And thank you to the assessor's representatives for your time and all of your effort. Okay. So in terms, Mr. Vlahakis, of the agenda, I think we've done everything that's on the agenda, right?
That's what I understand. We have nothing left to do today.
Okay, so then we'll adjourn for deliberations.